Hi, welcome to Building SaaS with Python and Django. My name is Matt Lehman, and on this stream, we work on building Django apps and doing software as a service, and we're working on a project to get a journaling service out on the internet. Every line of code that is for this project has been streamed live. You're welcome to go view past streams to check it out if you want to catch up all the way from the beginning. There's a playlist to do so. And what else do I need to say? I guess this is part 12 of this project. And I'm hoping, with any luck today, we might actually get out to deploying our service all the way onto the internet and making it available at the domain name that we're after. So that is the objective. You're welcome to ask me anything about Python, Django, or web development. That's what I'm here for. And we'll get right to it. So we've kind of left off this spot last stream, which was a few weeks ago. I've been busy. We were trying to hook up receiving email, and I think I've got a diagram with the Excalidraw showing this off. I'm not going to walk through every bit of here, but there's this part where SendGrid is going to send information about responses from email clients, and it's going to come back to the web application so that we can process and record a journal entry. And we tried our darndest to get that going. But there were just some aspects of the configuration that were not playing nicely, and we kind of got stuck. And so what I want to do today is get unstuck and try and put this site actually out there, because I think the biggest stumbling block that we were hitting is that SendGrid in its configuration expected to reach a real live endpoint that was available at the domain that we specified, and when it wasn't, it got really unhappy about wanting to send any information to it. So in order to test our flow out end to end, we actually have to get the site up and running at the live address, because that's how SendGrid's configuration system works. Which means that we are backed into a position where even though the service is not totally ready, we got to get some of it going. So we're going to get enough out there. We're going to check off a couple of items that are remaining here to add some safety, and then we'll work through the process of actually deploying stuff to Heroku. This is going to involve setting up a Heroku project and getting a database going and all of those kinds of things. So if you have any questions about that, you're welcome to ask me about it. Otherwise, we'll just jump into the middle pieces that I think are needed here. And I think the sequence here, this is a little out of order, so maybe let's drag this so you get an idea of what's going on. Hey, John, thanks for joining in. I'm glad to be back. So I think the sequence is going to look something like this. We're going to do this random token thing, and then we will do our deployment to Heroku, and then we'll connect the Heroku app that we've deployed to DNS. And then I think finally, I don't know if we'll get to it tonight. This might actually take all of the evening to get all this stuff going. We will finally do the work of connecting the inbound processing. And that'd be really cool, because I want to be able to like send an email, see if it goes, send it to the hook, the webhook that should be processing, and maybe do a little bit of logging information so that we can know what the messages look like. Because that's actually part of the challenge of this is, in order to write the receiver hook on the other side, we need to see some of the data that SendGrid is going to be sending us, and it hasn't been super clear. There was some information in here, but we talked about it last time, and it's kind of in the weird description format of what that will look like. And we think that I think that Python will transform some of that anyway into something that feels a bit more native. So we might do some like pretty printing of some of the payload, hopefully not give away too many details, personal details about my email address and that sort of stuff. But we'll check it out from there. All right, so let's jump into this one. I've made comments in the past that Django's default admin is /admin. If you use the start project command and you run from that, you're going to get the admin site at an admin URL path. And it's kind of a dead giveaway that you have a Django project. And so we're going to do a little bit to secure that. We do have some longer term plans. I think it's somewhere in this list. Yeah, here it is, of adding more security to the admin page. But if we can do a little bit to make this a little harder for bad guys to get to, then that's all for the better. So we're going to add some unique token to the actual URL that will be configured by a setting, which will be plugged in by an environment variable, so that only somebody who knows what that token is will be able to get to the path easily. It's kind of like a shared secret. It's not perfect. There are probably ways to get to that information, but it's a way to get it off of the default name. Okay, so before I do that though, let's do a little bit of cleanup. As a reminder, I'm using pre-commit on this project. I've used pre-commit CI to help keep stuff updated, and pre-commit sends in these regular periodic PRs. So I'm just going to go ahead and click the button really quickly, and it's updating some of the pre-commit things that we're using here, and there were no changes, so that's really good. So we're able to start right here, and oh boy, I've got some stuff staged, so we're gonna have to figure out what that is too. Let's see if we can even pull. Blah, we can't even pull. Booey. Should have figured that out beforehand. All right, so let's see what we got. We've got the AnyMail webhook secret. We were doing a bunch of this stuff, and I didn't actually leave this in a clean place. I know that one of the viewers who checks out the stream later has in the past poked me about about not including that, but guess it didn't happen this time. So that's my fault, y'all. So let's do a quick little review of what we did last time. I'm not going to dwell on it, but I just want to make sure that it looks sane. So we've got some AnyMail webhook secret. We've put it in CI as well. We've got the app that we are connecting to the inbound receiver. We tested, I think, some of this out. No, we weren't able to. We tried to, but so this handle inbound hook is not working. And then we've got it commented out in the settings configuration. Okay. And I think if we run our coverage suite, we're going to get less than 100% coverage. Yeah. So it's missing that receiver. I think I'm okay with that for now. We'll clean this up. And normally I want to stick to 100% coverage, but I'm okay being a little fast and loose with it right now. So let's commit this and say start of webhook receiver, and that's for that issue that was the 4th issue in our launch list, number 5. Okay, now I'm going to pull, and it's going to complain. Oh, it didn't even complain. Maybe because I hadn't. What's going on? Did it fast forward? Successfully rebased and updated. What's good? Hey. Oh, it just sequence. Yeah, that's perfect. That's exactly what I would want. I guess because I hadn't pushed up, it was able to take the changes that were in the main upstream, consider that as canonical, apply them, and then apply our own commit on top. Very cool. So that's what that rebase operation is. So I'm going to push this, and it's going to cause CI to fail because we're less than 100%. But that's okay. We'll get back to getting that corrected as soon as we can. For the time being, though, let's focus on issue 39. So the key element of what we're going to do here is in our URLs file. And there's 2 things that we're going to need to set here. So if we go to the URLs file, we have, right now, you can see we have admin. And that's what we want to take out of the equation. So let's get rid of this. We've got our settings. And is there an admin section in here of any kind? Nope. So maybe we will put this, I've kind of grouped this by alphabetically by chunks of the Django settings that are apply. And we're dealing with the admin, which feels like related to the Django core. So I'm going to create a little section here for a new setting. So we will do, we'll call it admin. And then we'll say, what should we call this thing? Admin URL, not a token. Path. Well, I'll call it a token, even though it's really not what it is. So we've got our admin URL, this, and you'll see how it gets plugged in here in a second. And we'll pull this from the env, and we'll look for an environment variable of the same name. And we'll close this off like that. And by doing it this way and not putting it at the environment block at the top, it'll be a required environment variable in order to deploy. So now we have this available, and we have the settings already in here. So what we should be able to do is come into this section and say, make this an F string, and do settings dot admin URL path token, and do it like this. So we've essentially created this like little namespace thing that is going to be hard for someone to discover. But if we run this, we're going to have a bad time because it tries to load everything and we don't have this defined. So we need to define this, and we need to put this in our env example file. So we'll go to the env example, and it doesn't really matter what this is going to be for local purposes. So let's call this admin URL path token, and we'll put in a value of, I don't know, token. I'm going to use like some much longer UUID4 or something like that, but for the purpose of this context, we can leave it as something simple. Now, I've got to turn this on the secret screen for a moment because honestly, it's been so long that I don't remember if I have any secrets that need to be hidden in my .env file locally. And I'm scanning through here. There was an AnyMail webhook secret, but I think that was just for local testing, and I think I shared it last time, so we'll have to replace that anyway. And there's some other stuff. Yeah, it probably would have been okay to share this thing. So let me think. We killed, that's a dead API key that we used last time, and y'all have seen the DSN before, and I've expressed that it's not actually a secret. Okay, so I'll turn this back on. So I've added at the top, whoops, wrong focus, didn't have window focus. I've added this thing now to have admin URL path. And if we run make again, then we should get no explosion, which you can see it didn't. It would have already started up and said, hey, I can't get it, just like it did before. So we can stop that. ngrok still running, good grief. That was last time. ngrok it didn't quite work out the way we wanted it to. We need one more little bit here to like wrap up this feature, and that is adding this to the CI file. So we're going to come into we want to make sure that the tests continue to run, because right now this will work here, but that's because we have that env file available, so it's not going to complain about that. So it's still going to, again, it's going to try to load these settings, and it's looking for that stuff. So in order to make it not blow up in CI, we need to add this as well. So we'll put right here, admin URL path token, and we'll just fill it in with, well, it really doesn't matter here. I'll just use the same name that I used in that example file. I'm just imagining some security tool that I integrate someday that's going to complain that says you have a token thing, and it's going to need a, if I introduce, there's a tool called Bandit, which is an open source Python scanning tool for common security issues, which I've used in the past. And this very much seems like the thing that Bandit would look and flag and say, hey, wait a minute, you've got a secret value here, even though it's not secret. Okay, I think that's all we need to make this work. It's not a very complicated change. It was actually a great suggestion from somebody on the stream chat a few months ago. And I just hadn't had time to implement it. So you can see pretty quick. Okay. And we are done with that. So let's commit it. We've got some new pre-commit stuff that has to be installed. That's from that update from that PR. This should go pretty quickly. And that's done. And then say add token name spacing to admin page. And this is for What was that number? 39, I think. 39. All right, not just 4. It fixes. Fixes 39. If there's any questions about this feature, I hope it's pretty straightforward and clear, but maybe it's not. If you have questions about it, let me know. Okay. Cool. I'm excited. This is the rubber is about to meet the road. Let's look at this issue, see if we fleshed anything out here, and what we need to do. There's probably a checklist that Heroku has for this stuff. We've tried to go through, prior to this, we've already gone through security checklists. We've done a bunch of things that we could to make our app ready for the web. But there are still things that we're missing. So I think let's go to the Heroku setup and see what we can figure out. So let's search for Heroku Docs Python app. I don't know. That seems like the right place. I think the core thing that we're missing right now is probably a runtime. So there's a special file that Heroku looks for that we don't have yet. And so this is all of our files that we have in this project so far. And this is a root project that's expected at the root. And Heroku is going to look for this as a way to figure out which version of Python. Let's go over to the homeschool app for a moment. And we can do the same thing here. And you can see it's just a file called runtime.txt. And if I do a less on it, it is literally just a Python with a version separated by a dash. So we need to figure out what's the latest and greatest Python version that we should be using. And that's going to essentially tell Heroku during its build process of what stack should everything be on. Mid, hello, welcome. We're working on getting Heroku set up today. So we're going through this. We have an account. Mid, you're going to have to be much more specific in your question. I'm happy to go into answer what you call as a noob, but what are you looking for? There's so many ways that question could go. All right, let's see. Let's click this. See if we're ready to start. I already have. Whoa, that's actually a good question. Do I have the Heroku tools? I must, because I did homeschool app stuff on here. So Heroku is already installed. It's a command line tool. And so I don't need to go through this process. That's something that you might need to do if you choose to use Heroku. I will note that Heroku is a paid service at this point. They used to have a free tier. They don't anymore. But if you're ready to commit to building an app and you want to put it on the internet, and you're looking for a pretty no-fuss solution to deploying apps, Heroku has served me well for a long time. And I hear one of the complaints about Heroku is their pricing model is that if your app gets popular, it could get pricey in a hurry. But that means your app has to get popular. So the price of success is a problem that is a great one for down the road. My other app is not popular. It's only used by a few people, so it costs me $15 a month, I think. So I would love to have a problem with pricing and have to deal with that, but I think Heroku can be a great tool for you. All right, let me read your comment here, Mid. So you're new to Django, HTMX, Alpine, and Celery. That's a lot of technology. And your project is scraping a page in the background, and you populate a database and give it a nice view. Tell me more about give it a nice view. So I guess maybe what's the question in there? Because that's like, cool. That's a good stack, or that's an interesting stack that you could probably get really far with. So is there something that you have concerns with? John, I see your question here too. I am going to configure the project to use Postgres, and I already did. I think maybe you weren't here for that stream, John. So I did configure. Let's go take a look. Pretty sure I put it in there, And yeah, so we've got PsychoPG here, which is at the new version 3. So we're also making assumptions right now that the binary version is going to work with Heroku's environment. So this is one of the areas that could bite us potentially if we do have to do a source build of the PsychoPG library. I hope that's not the case. I hope that Heroku has made this work with the new version. Time will tell if we're okay or not. Okay, let's get a little farther here in Heroku setup stuff. So we've got Heroku login, and that's going to be something necessary. Now I think, this is an interesting question. I have two-factor authentication turned on for Heroku. I'm going to hit the Heroku login thing and press enter, and it might ask me for some credentials, so I'm going to have to turn on the secret mode. So this is what it's prompting me to do. I'm going to hit enter from here. If it turns out to not be sensitive, I will turn this back on. But I just, dealing with secrets is tricky. So it asked me to hit enter, and it's prompting me to it opened a browser tab. And that brought me to a Heroku login flow, and I'm clicking on the login button, and I'm populating it with my email. So it's definitely a good call to hide that because it's my own personal email, which I don't want to be trivially discoverable. And then it's sending me to a two-factor authentication page, and I'm typing in the authentication code right now. And I've typed it in. I've got a big green check, and it's logged me in. I think I'm safe to show this again, but let me check my console output to make sure nothing appeared in there. All looks good. Okay, so let's bring this back. We've got, this is where we ended with this flow. Dump me to this page, tell me you're logged in. And then we also have this flow. Oh, shoot. Well, I guess I will have fun clipping that out later. I didn't notice there was my personal email address dropped right at the prompt. Thanks, Heroku. Good times, good times. If you want to email me, I suppose you can ask me questions. Although I will probably end up just directing you to Discord, where I'm happy to chat with you. There, I have a Discord. You can go to my website, mattlehman.com, and there's a Discord button. You're welcome to join me. That's where I would send you, even if you did choose to email me. It's just not very scalable for me to address a bunch of emails. I can do the occasional one, but it's easier to chat on Discord. Okay, so I've cleared my output here, and we're logged in. So we can say, yes, I've installed this. And we don't actually want to do this. We're not doing their test project. So let's skip that. And we have a proc file. So I've already walked you through some of this in the past because I told you from the beginning that I was going to use Heroku. So there's proc file is the way that Heroku wants you to specify how it's going to run in their system. So as I've been running this with the make file command, actually we can bring up the make file. We've been using Heroku local to try and simulate how Heroku would run stuff. And that's going to run the web tier that's here, which is running gUnicorn and our project, and with these flags of having 2 workers and a log file that dumps to standard out. That's what this log file dash business does. So the proc file that we have does that main thing of keeping the web running, and there's also this special release line here, and that's something that during the deployment process is the last step. You can specify a release command. So this is going to automatically do any database migrations that we might have every time we want to update the application. So you think about the flow is we're going to deploy the app. Heroku's going to build it all into the thing that they need to deploy on their infrastructure. And once it is live there, it's going to try to connect to a database. But if we haven't run our Django migrations, then the Django app code won't be able to talk to the database because the app code will expect certain database tables to exist in a certain way, and that information won't be available yet. So by doing the migrate command, it is essentially a pre-check that says do database migrations, create any tables, and then it will allow the web application to connect to that. All right, let me go back and read your comment here, mmid. So my site, yeah, this is a starting app. Although this is now the 12th stream, and for a couple hours, this is like 20, probably about 2 hours a session, so 24 hours or so of development into this. And yeah, so there's quite a bit you can learn there. You don't know. I have a lot of videos on that, but don't know what to start with as an up-to-date system. Yeah, again, I'm not really sure. I can dig into some specific aspect for you, but I'm not really sure yet. So I'm going to keep plowing ahead on this. And the goal of this, I guess, maybe it's some contextualization of what I tend to do in the stream. My goal is to show you a project in real life, like how you can put one live on the internet. It's not to do like topical sessions on specific challenges, like for your example of having a scraping system. I can offer some rough guidance of using Scrapey or something like that, and that's the strategy there. But here it's like I think there's not enough content out there that shows you how to do end-to-end deployment of here's a real project and see it in real life, and how do you keep it and maintain it, keep it updated, all these things. And that's what I try and do with this stream. So it's much more about like swimming in the stream of a real application and learning through that process. That's the mode. But yeah, I see you're gonna go to Discord. Yeah, happy to try and answer it there once you're there. All right, let's return to our documentation here. So we can see that we've got this request to make a proc file, and I've already done that. So I know what a proc file is. And it's telling us to do a Heroku create. So I don't know if I want to do this from the create option, because I want to define a database. So let's see. This Heroku create is going to create an app for us. This is the challenge with a lot of these tools. The groups that are going to be super comfortable with this are consultant groups that go in and try and help startups that start their apps, and they get really good at a lot of these commands. But these are commands, like I've created probably a half a dozen Heroku apps in my many, many years of using it. So these are commands that I run once, which is kind of a little unnecessary for a bunch of this stuff. So let's see. If we create Heroku create, what's that going to do? It's going to create an app for us in Heroku system. It's going to give a name for it, and that's maybe fine. But we might want to actually create it through the web UI. I think we'll get a little bit more control over the naming and not get just a randomly assigned slug there. So let's see if we can create it instead of going through the command line, create it from Heroku's site itself. Let's go to Heroku, Heroku.com. Let's see if I don't know if I'll be logged in. I did the client login. All right. So you can see here's my other project. And like I said, they're not free anymore. So there used to be other projects here, but this is the homeschool application, and it's got this goofy name of Sleepy Caverns. But we can create our own app, and I think it gives us a little bit more control over the name if we want. So the name of my project, as a reminder, gotta remind myself, what URL, what domain did I buy? Journey Inbox. So let's see if this is available. Journey Inbox is available, and we're not going to add a pipeline. Their pipeline is for like if you wanted to do continuous deployment. So every time you push a commit, it would automatically deploy, assuming certain conditions were there. That might be cool. We might want to consider that in the future, but we don't need to do that today. I'm going to say create the app, and see, create a new pipeline. Pipelines let you connect multiple apps for promoting code. Yeah, I don't need to do that. We're going to get to the resources here in a minute. That's going to be for our database, I think. There's an add-on for Postgres that I'm sure we'll use. but we're not there yet. Deployment method. I don't think, so since we're going to deploy manually, I don't think we have to do this yet. See, we're going to deploy using Heroku Git. So we have here's the remote that we need to add. We already have our project, we have a Git directory. So if we come over here and we do git remote -v, you can see we have our origin. So that is our origin that points at GitHub. The way that Heroku can work, and this is part of what makes Heroku super cool, is that doing a deploy is as simple as doing a push to one of their remotes. So if we add a remote here, so we're going to use the Heroku command of git remote add journey inbox. And so now what we've done is we have set this remote here. All right, MD, have a good evening. Thanks for joining in. We've now set this, and if we do the same git remote v command as before, you can see that there's an HTTP interface here, and this is wired up with Heroku login. So as long as we've done a Heroku login fairly recently, we can push to that remote, and it will attempt to do the deploy command. In fact, I've done it so, it's such a common operation that I have a make deploy target here that just kind of wraps that up, so I don't have to think about that. Git push Heroku main. Okay. So that's the story on how to actually do the deploys. We kind of hooked it up already, and I think we're ready to ignore the rest of this page. Yeah. So here's our existing repository. We did that command. Cool. What is next? I think I feel like what we need to do is get that resource going of the database, and then we can attempt to do a deploy. And the deploy will fail. And the reason it's going to fail is because we haven't supplied the settings for all this stuff. And I'll show you where those settings are. Some of them might be sensitive. Actually, before I create the resource, so as soon as I create a Postgres resource, I think that Heroku will automatically put in a database URL to connect to that. So let me turn this off for a minute, make sure it's safe to do so I don't have to blow up any settings. And I'm going to go to my settings, and there is a bunch of stuff on here. And I'm going to, okay, there's no secrets yet, so it's safe to show you this page. Let me bring this back. So I'm going to be walking you through a bunch of these settings. So all those settings that we've been configuring over the last few weeks and months, I guess, will have to go in here. This is the settings tab of an app in Heroku. And we've got our app name. I don't really want to adjust that. I feel like it's kind of set now. It's telling us it's using a certain stack. So this is based on Ubuntu 22.04, which they base their stuff on long-term support releases. So that's the latest long-term support release. Because we haven't deployed anything yet, it doesn't know what framework we're using, but it'll figure that out as soon as we deploy. But here's the important section. So there's this config variables. So the way Heroku wants to do all of its applications is you define a set of config variables, which are literally environment variables, or they're treated as such. And you put them all in here and you add. You're going to get your list. And all of that, when the Heroku application gets launched, is supply these config variables at the time of its runtime. So that's how the environment will start up. The application boots up, it reads from the environment and plugs all the stuff in. So it's not using the .env file that we've been using for local development. It is injected by the infrastructure at Heroku. As soon as we deploy, it will detect that it's a Python app, and it will list the Python build pack. Build packs are the build tools that are, there's a bunch of native ones to Heroku. There's also some extension ones. For instance, my homeschool app also used a Hugo one for building a Hugo Go, that's a Go static site generator tool. And then we've got this stuff here. We'll have to get into this. We will want SSL It's really TLS, and I don't know why they still say SSL, but we're going to want a certificate, and so that will be a configuration that we need to do. And yeah, that's this part. Here is the domain name that we're provided, which we will hook up to our DNS records. Spicer, thanks for joining in. Hey, go listen to the wifey. If she's tapping you on the shoulder, you can't stop listening to me. Have a good one. So, so we've got our domain name stuff here. We're going to figure that out, and then we're it's not going to transfer ownership, and this is not in maintenance mode. So that's all the settings here that are good to see right now. So we'll get to that in a moment. Let's return to this resources page, and let's plug in some extra stuff yet. So we're going to need to scale up our web command, and that was part of the docs over here. So it shows you, like, here it does the create. That was the stuff that we did via the web, so we won't need to do this step. And then you do your deploy, and it tells you that you need to scale. I suspect that PS stands for process, and you have to scale it, and you have to scale which process you want to go up. So we're going to have one web worker. You can have multiple web workers, and they will be happy to charge you more. The more that you have, the more money it will cost. But we're only going to need one for this initial purpose, because there's not going to be really any significant load on it. And then once all of that is done, we can run Heroku open, although in our situation, that will actually fail because the root of our app will go nowhere. So we'll have to launch into the admin page to confirm that stuff is working. Otherwise, I think it will probably 404 or something. Okay, so let's go over here. Let's do quickly add add-ons from Elements. I don't know what Elements is. That seems like a new thing. Let's search for Postgres. Heroku Postgres. So I want to do. Okay, let's go read the documentation first. I'm pretty sure that I don't want this mini tier, because here's the other thing to consider. One of the downsides that I don't think Heroku solved that is changing different versions of your database. So you can see there's tons of different database options, ranging from super cheap per hour up to holy crap, $21,000 a month. You better be doing a lot of traffic. I'm not clicking this. I'm not going to get charged, a lot of money for that. I'm pretty sure that my setup is using basic. In fact, let's short circuit this process. I'm going to turn off my or turn on my secret screen again and check out my other app. So bear with me one moment, and I'm going to go and look at my Sleepy Caverns app and look at the resource configuration on that. And it's got it says it's doing Heroku Postgres at the basic level. Okay, that's the one we want. Let me bring this back up. I keep forgetting my Stream Deck is right in front of me. I've got ways to switch between that, but I've been clicking between them. I'm got to get better at that. So let's bring up the Postgres thing again. And let's switch from mini to basic. So I guess this is a place where because you're agreeing to spend more money, they're telling you that this is actually an order form, which is kind of interesting. But even just setting the cost aside for a moment, I said a moment ago that Heroku's process, they do have a documented process for how to do a database upgrade, but it's kind of manual. And actually the mini tier, which I guess used to be the free tier, they would like turn it off and stuff. That didn't have the ability to upgrade databases easily. So maybe this is not actually even the problem I think it is anymore. Maybe the mini tier is still fine. But it used to be a more involved process. So if you wanted to get to a higher level of support where it was easier to switch over your databases to new versions or something like that, you'd have to be on at least the basic tier. So let's go check out, actually, this is making me want to investigate and figure out if the Mini is a new offering and what the differences are. Because they give you definitions of what the different tiers mean too. And this is important information. I think it's looking like the Mini tier. Gosh, I don't know. The difference between Mini and Basic is just insane. I don't know why you would want Mini. Look at this is, you'll hit 10,000 rows in no time, is my prediction for most apps. Rollback, blah, 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 blah. Bunch of stuff. 2 backups. Okay. So here's your command that if you wanted to do this all from the command line, you could do it like this. But again, I do this once in a blue moon. So I'm okay looking at the web because I need reminders, in fact, of what it is I'm actually getting. So the basic tiers I found is fine. I think it's going to be fine for this application because I don't think, again, the flow of this application is mostly going to be about email and having a background worker that sends out stuff. So I don't think we actually need a lot of horsepower for the web stuff or the database, which means we can get away with a very small web tier and very small database tier. And then you can, I'm just curious, what would this be? Shield XL9. Like cranked up. Pretty powerful. So this is I guess this is both the blessing and curse about Postgres is like they make it pretty easy to jump up these higher tiers, but they'll charge you for it. And where the cost calculation is like, imagine you were wildly successful. The cost calculation for those big tiers is like, do you want to pay engineers whose job it is to maintain this stuff on AWS? Like do RDS, the Relational Database Service on AWS, and figure all of that out. You could probably get their actual databases cheaper, but then you're also paying an employee to manage that. So when you can just choose these other options that give you a lot more horsepower and do that pretty quickly, there's a certain advantage to it. That's the thinking behind platform as a service. Is it trades off cost for convenience. And especially at new startup stages, I would take the convenience aspect almost every time. And they give you these really low cost options too for most cases. So if I got, slash dotted is not the phrase anymore. Is it reddited? I don't, like, what's the phrase when you get a ton of traffic now? What's the best tool for that? I wouldn't survive that, or my site wouldn't survive that, but that's okay. I'm not really concerned about getting super popular on Reddit. Okay, so we've got this tier. Basic looks like the right one. It's got 10 million rows, which is way more than 10,000. Like, that's why I can't even imagine why it's literally an order of magnitude bigger for $9 a month versus $5 a month. So for $4 more a month, you can get an order of magnitude more out of your database. Seems like a no-brainer to me. All right, let's do this. So let's do the submit order form. And it says this add-on has been installed. Check out the documentation. Attached as database. Oh, interesting. So there's the name of the thing. This app as database. Okay, I don't know. I thought it would be database URL. Let me go back to, I'm going to press the button this time. Secrets. I'm going to go to my settings, and I'm going to reveal the config vars. Okay. So what I can't show you now is that there's now a populated database URL, which uses the Postgres connection string format that the database URL package that we installed should be able to read. So if I bring this back, there we are, cool. So we have this available to us, and we will configure the scheduler later. That was another thing that I had on here. Don't don't know that we need to do it right away. Yeah, I have it set as a thing we could set up. So we'll get that going too. So we can close that. We're ready to go. Let's try and do a deploy. See how it goes. It's going to fail. I can guarantee it's going to fail, but I don't know where it will fail. And we also need to add, I guess we need to add a runtime. So maybe that's one step we need to do before getting much farther. Run the app locally. I did not say do a runtime. Oh, you know what it is? I bet the clone already has the runtime set. So let's search for runtime. Specifying a Python runtime. And we just need to add this file with the version. Supported versions are kept here. And the latest is Python 3.11.5. Okay, cool. So let's come up here and do runtime txt Python 3.11.5. And we will add this and commit it. Add Python version for Heroku, and that's for, what issue number is this? This is 13. So we're now set there. So I think we're ready to go. Let's go back to the tutorial here. And let's try it out. Yeah, let's try it out. So it's go time. Make deploy. So it is setting the Heroku stack to 22 as that was just part of the app creation process. It's going to pick the latest stack that it can for a new app. It detected that it's Python. Hold on. So it's got the runtime specified because we specified it, and detected that it's Python 3.11.5. It then is looking for, knowing that this is a Python app, it's going to use requirements.txt. That's the Heroku convention. So that's how it knows what to install all these packages from. With any luck, the Psycho PG binary will work just fine for us. We'll find out very quickly. And good, we already hit the thing that is complaining. So it's coming down here and says, I don't know what this stuff is. So the very first thing that we're missing is the secret key. So the next process that we can do is go through and start setting the things that we know we need to set. And we can use our settings file as guidance. So one way we could do it is we could set one setting and deploy and let it blow up in our face and try it again and do it again. I'd like to avoid that process and use our brains a little bit by looking through the settings file where we know our settings are going to come from. We know these things are going to accept the defaults, so we will have all of that. I think we'll have to set allowed hosts here shortly. Yeah, I'm going to need to check on that setting. I don't remember what I used for my other homeschool site, so we'll check that out. And we've got true for our settings. We've got the connection stuff appropriately set to require TLS or SSL in this case. Debug will be false. We've got all of these security settings, Sentry, and so on. Okay, so secret key is the first thing that we will need for certain. So there's a way to generate these values. I think there's a DJ secret key generator. It's like a tool online that you can use. There's ways you can do it from the command line too, but just want to show you one way to handle this. So DJ, I could take this key, all right? So I'm not going to use that key because I just showed it to you, but I'm going to click this a couple times, and And you can go verify that these people are above board, that this is somebody's personal project, and you can take it on faith that he's being honest and not logging and finding your secrets. So that's one way you could generate a secret pretty quickly. There is another. Django itself comes with a tool to call this. There's like some secret utilities that you can use. I wonder if it's even exposed through a help command through Django extensions. Let's see. So Django extensions. Let's see if they make that easy. Awesome. There it is. Generate secret key. Let's try it. Generate secret key. There's a secret key. So I'm going to turn my secret screen off again. I'm going to run that command again. And actually think that I can do this. Okay, cool. So here's what I did. I ran the generate secret key command and I piped it to pb copy, which is a command to copy it to my clipboard. And now I have a secret key. And so what I'm going to do at this point is go to Journey Inbox, go to the settings page. There's still nothing, there's no secrets to hide here, so yet. But I'm about to click this button, which means I got to turn on the secret screen. And I am adding this, and I'm putting in secret key, and then I'm pasting the value that I got from that command. So now I have a secret key defined, and that's there. So let me bring back the scene. All right, so one down, and we got a bunch more to go. So allowed hosts. Okay, this one I need to go check my other app. And there was nothing about this portion that was actually super secret right away. This is connected to homeschool. Shows, it's actually kind of cool. You get a little view of what's my response time, throughput, memory, all of that stuff. There's some cool stuff that Django will give you kind of out of the box. Or not Django, Heroku will give you out of the box and make it quick and easy to see how your app is doing. And that's nice, so you don't immediately have to hook up something like Datadog or some other performance monitoring tool. All right, I'm going to go to my secret screen. I'm going to check the settings here. I'm going to look at my config variables and look at allowed hosts. All right, so allowed hosts in this case has a couple of settings on it that are comma separated. Well, I think okay, so I can get rid of that, and where can I put this? This is kind of annoying. This is going to be the most annoying secrets flip-flopping thing that I'll have to do for a long time, because this is the seed operation where I have to bootstrap all this stuff. So allowed hosts is a comma separated list that environment will read, and it will turn that into strings that it's going to allow anybody to connect to. Essentially what this does is a Django setting that if it says that if you're not coming at this from one of the following domains, then we're going to reject the request. And it's a protection that prevents somebody else from, let's say somebody else tries to make their site like your site. They put in a CNAME record in their DNS, and they point to journeyinbox.com, and they're hoping to convince you to use their version of the site. I don't know why they do that. It seems kind of weird. Maybe they would add some JavaScript or some extension, some kind of hacky way to break that. But there are other reasons. There are other more obvious security reasons that I can't recall off the top of my head. So if you have allowed hosts, it essentially tells Django to inspect the host header, which is one of the headers that are on all HTTP requests, and look to see if it matches a certain pattern. And if it doesn't, it rejects that as a some kind of 400 error, and I don't remember which one. So we've got to put that a list in there as that protection, so that we'll only accept journeyinbox.com. Also, we would want to accept Heroku's name that we can check before we've done wired up the DNS here. So down here we've got here is the name that Heroku wants to give us. So we're going to copy this link, and I got to go back to secrets for a moment. I'm going to reveal the secrets, and I'm going to say allowed hosts as the variable. And then for my value, I'm going to paste in all of what you just saw as the URL, that journey inbox -0682 business. But I'm going to take off the HTTPS portion for now. Okay, so I'm going to hit add. I'm going to hide that configuration. And then I will bring this back. Okay, so we've got allowed hosts. That's another one down. Let's move on and see what we need next. We're getting debug from the environment above, so that's okay. That will default to false. Keep scanning. And keep scanning, keep scanning. These two are coming from the defaults. Those are, we want a secure connection. We get one from Postgres. I think that's going to be right. We need to have this admin URL path token. So here's where I can come into here, and I can say Python, and I can go to import UUID and do UUID.UUID4, and that's going to give a string value. So I can call that 4, and I can use this as that token thing. I'm not going to use this one since you just saw it. So again, go back to the secret screen. You've now seen what I'm doing. I'm calling that same command. I've got a new value here, copying that string value. And you could use, and it doesn't have to be a UUID4, of course, this is anything, but this is going to be one trivially easy way that I would know to create some long random value that will work for certain as a URL. And so I've pasted it into the value field, and I need to add the name of admin URL path token. Okay, and I'm going to add that. I'm going to hide the config variables. I'm going to come over to this shell here, get out of the shell, and then clear the Python shell so you can't see the value that I actually used, and come back. Okay, so that one's done. Let's keep going. We've got nothing with those validators, nothing there. The email backend is using the default, which is the SendGrid one. We're going to want to change this from field later. We don't need to do that yet. This is coming from the default. These are all coming from the default. So nothing to change there. Continuing to scan through. That is also coming from the default, is going to be HTTPS. None of those. Okay. Got to go to SendGrid and get a real API key. Okay. And and we're gonna need to supply. Yeah, we're gonna need to supply a reply to here as well. I'm not sure what value I'm gonna put for that. I think it has to be somewhere. Can be any value as long as it's at journeyinbox.com. I think we confirmed that the reason we did that validation a few weeks ago with SendGrid is so that it would accept, if you are not a reputable sender, I think that was kind of the language that they used, it won't accept it. So it's got to come from, look like it's coming from my name of journeyinbox, or my domain of journeyinbox.com. So let's go create our SendGrid API key and pick a reply to. That means we need to go to SendGrid, which I think I have over here. Gotta turn off screen again. I'm going to log in with my SendGrid account. And it's asking me for 2FA code, which I will get from my app. And type in the code. And I can't remember if there's anything that I need to hide. We're on, where was it? I think it's, okay, API keys. Oh gosh, this was so annoying. So I'm on an API keys page. I can't show you. I need to create an API key right now. I'm clicking a button and I need to give it a name. So I'm going to give it the name. As a reminder, my SendGrid will only, since it's connected to my email account, it will only give me one SendGrid account is allowed in their terms of service. So I have my other School Desk app in here. So I need to say, give this a name, this kind of namespaces this key so that I know that it's for Journey Inbox. So I'm going to call this Journey Inbox Production is the name of the key. And I'm going to create and view it. And clicking the key name. So I've got the API key created. And it's showing me the actual key value. So I'm going to go over to Journey Inbox on Heroku. I'm going to paste the value into the config vars, and I'm going to give it the name, the key name of SendGrid API key, which is the one that is expected by the settings. I click Add, and I'm hiding this. And then over on the SendGrid settings, I think I'm done here. So I'm clicking Done. It's taking me back to the API keys page, and it's showing both of these. Now there are key IDs with this, which is why I'm not going to show this page. So I'm going to return to my dashboard. And I think we're safe to show this again. Is there anything here? Yeah, it looks good. So we've got that in SendGrid. Oh, phooey, did I actually close the keys? I would hate to flip one time too many and then, okay. There we go. So we're safe here. And now we're ready to do this next one. So the email SendGrid reply to. Again, gonna flip this off. Sorry for the back and forth. So the name of the key was email SendGrid reply to. And it's time for me to pick the name. So for now, I'm just going to say journal at journeyinbox.com. The idea being you respond to your journal. I don't know, you can tell me if that's a goofy name or not, but that's the name I'll use for the moment. And so we've got that set. I will hide that again. And I think I can bring this back. Okay. Getting closer, I promise. We only have, yeah, pretty much at the bottom. So Sentry enabled is going to be true by default. And we need to go to Sentry and plug in our DSN value, which I think I have in that environment file. Which I confirmed earlier did not have any secrets in here. So this is the DSN value that we have to plug in. So I'm going to view inside of there, and then I'm going to copy that to my clipboard. And here again, secret screen, reveal the configuration. I'm giving the key name of Sentry DSN, and I'm pasting in the ingester value, and I'm adding it. So after we're all done with this, that means that we have currently 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 required configuration variables if we did this right. Okay, bring back the scene. And hopefully we're done, y'all. Sorry about that. Now, moment of truth. Let's try to deploy. So if we deploy, let's consider what should we see? We have not updated our packages since they're the last deploy. Although we didn't get a successful deploy, so it might be possible that Heroku will try to download our packages again. It may only, because it does try to cache the packages if it can, but that caching may only work if you have a successful deploy. I don't know. It may have also tried to say like, oh yeah, we got that part. Your app just didn't work, so we're not going to rebuild it. So if that's the case, it'll just like blaze through the installation process using cached artifacts, and then when it starts up the app, it shouldn't hit any kind of environment misconfiguration because we've supplied them all. So it'll start the app, or it will attempt to, and it should it should run the release command, and that release command will call migrate. And since the Django app code will be plugged into the database URL, that will do the initial migrations. And there's no migrations that have been applied, so this is the moment at which we will get all of our initial tables, and they'll just all be empty. So here we go. Make deploy. All right, so I think, well, let me reserve judgment. Yeah, I think because we didn't get a successful deploy last time, it didn't cache anything. So this can go faster, although it's still pretty fast. So it's discovering the process types. It says it's compressing. So what it does is it creates this like artifact, and that artifact is now, I guess, 45 megabytes in size. It's running a release command. Cool, I like it. So we ran a release command. I don't know why this counted as version 11. That's strange to me, but maybe I think every time we add a configuration variable, that counts as a new release, and Heroku will like re-release the app. That's why we're all the way up to this number. I bet if we look back at the last one, although I better be careful because I don't want my scroll back to show some secrets that I might have. So it ran the release command, and you can see what it did. That release command did the migration. It detected all of these apps that we have. And all of them that had migrations anyway. And then it applied all of those migrations to give us a database, to give us a populated database. So how do we validate that this thing is working? We can't, well, we could go to here, but I don't think this is going to do what we want it to do. Let's try it. So we got this, we got nothing on this page. There's no source here. So it seems broken, right, at first blush. But really what happened is that there's just no response here. Kind of didn't expect that. I thought it might be a 404. So we didn't hook up a root URL to anything, did we? Oh, we did. Ah, cool. Just an empty index page. I forgot we did that. I think I did it because I was tired of getting 500 results when it wasn't, or 404 results when it wasn't finding anything. So what should that have done? That was coming from the core app. So if we go to core views, it was rendering this index page, and the index page literally has no content. So, all right, so we have a successful app, and it have no favicon, so it's giving a 404 there. That's just something the browser does by default. It looks for a 404 or for a favicon. That's not a surprise. So this means that our app is live. It doesn't look much like a Django app yet. Let's see what we can learn from the headers. Actually, there might be some interesting information in here. So let's do this and do this and see what's showing up here. The Django team's pretty security conscious, so I'd be surprised if there's anything that was a dead giveaway that this is from a Django site. So we've got our request headers. This is what our browser sent. So this is the reason why the allowed host didn't block this request. So in any browser, one of the required headers that you must send to be following the standard protocol is the host header. And the host header here is going to match with whatever the domain name is of the request. So that's why we've got journey inbox. And because I had added this value in our allowed hosts, we did not get a rejection. Okay. And so these are all the things that were sent by Firefox. Here's the response side. We got our code. Okay, there is one hint, I guess, that this is Python. So there's a server that says it's GUnicorn. I bet we could even turn that off if we really wanted to. Let's see, GUnicorn, disable server header. Some people might get, you can think of it this way. Let's say you had a vulnerable version of GUnicorn that somebody had figured out, and there's a known security vulnerability out there. If you're advertising in your headers that, hey, I'm a GUnicorn app, then a automated script could look for this header and say like, oh, you're GUnicorn. I know how to exploit that stuff. I don't even know what this means. Vigor? So we might want to look for something that can turn off that setting if we could, and that would increase the security here. You can set it to a custom thing. It's weird that how you can see. Surprised you can't unset it. That seems weird. I'm not going to worry about that today. It's not super important. I will keep the app updated, and hopefully nobody's exploiting my GUnicorn stuff. And it won't be a shock at all that like I'm out in the open. So my strategy to keep the site secure is actually to maintain it and update it rather than relying on the fact that you're not going to discover what it is, because hey, I'm kind of out in the open here. All right. So what else can I do? I can't even really, there's not really a way for me to display the admin page right now, because I'd have to show you that token thing, which is the whole point. The whole point of that security is so that I don't have to show you that. But even if I could, I can't get in right now. Can't get in because of not having a user. So our database is like completely empty. So what do you do when your database is totally empty? This is where you reach for some kind of shell utilities. So Heroku gives commands that will allow you to get a prompt that you can run and execute things inside the context of the actual running application. And I believe that command, I don't think I have it in my make file. No. Is Heroku run bash. Yeah. So here I am, and Heroku run bash. If we do a list here, and you can see that I'm not on my machine. So this command is basically SSH'd, done a secure connection to a Heroku machine. It's not one of the web machines. It's not the same process, but it is the same. Image is not the right term, but if you know Docker, it's kind of like an image. I think they call it a slug. It's the same release version, and they're essentially giving me a shell that's connected to all the software that was contained with that released version, and that's all under /app here. So here I can go and I could bring up, a management shell, and this is the same shell that we'd run kind of locally. In fact, I could do manage shell plus, and it's going to load all of the models that I have, except for the historical accounts. That one's weird for reasons that we're not going to get into. And so from here, I could say user.objects.count, and you're going to see the current problem. There are 0 users. So it is on me at this moment to create the first account that'll let me do stuff, that will let me get into the admin, view data, and that sort of thing. I'm trying to decide if I really need to do that now, because it is one of these things that, although I'm trying to show you all the code, there's certain activities that I just don't need to show, and creating the user account may be one of them. Let me think on this for a moment, because there are things that we won't be able to do until that is created. Like if we're trying to validate that the inbound webhooks are working, is that necessary? Well, let me get out of here. This is actually very slowly costing me money. I mean, it would be like a penny, but you don't want to leave that up and running, because as long as you're executing compute time on their stuff, they're going to charge you for it. So I'm trying to think through, what should we do next? Let me go to the job for a moment, the send mail job. Well, this is outbound, which I don't think we need yet. I'm trying to think if I want to hook this up, or if I want to even sorry, y'all, my brain is processing what to do next. Okay, so we have hooked up the SendGrid API key. If we turn on the scheduler and get this going, then and this email we populated with the actual reply to, if I create my user and I populate it with my actual email account, then, which is right here, the user email setting, then what's going to happen is that I'm going to start to my email account, start receiving emails from the app. That would be great, except we haven't finished the loop on this whole process yet. So I would get emails that I couldn't do anything with, which would be kind of frustrating. So I may want to create kind of an administrative account that is not going to be one of the accounts that is participating in the system. That's a thing. That's a state that we didn't consider. Let's look at the user model, and this will make sense. Where did I put it? Accounts. So we've got these states here of trialing, active, exempt, canceled, trial expired. This core one is the one I was thinking was going to be for my account. And you can see that how that exists because I've got it listed as an exempt in the active statuses here. And the way this will ultimately work is that I will be the only one, I don't know, I'll just say it this way. I will likely be the only one that's ever got this account status. And so this is a code path purely for my purposes here. Everyone else would be, if they're wanting to use a service, would either be in trialing or active, assuming that we're sending them emails. And so I could create an account. If I created my account today and set it to exempt, then it's going to start receiving emails, which, as I said, I may not want to do. So the ways that I could get around this is I could copy this and change it so that it is not including the exempt until we have the full loop closed. That would allow me to create the account, poke at some data with the admin, and not worry about the actual loop of the equation. That's one option. Another option is it could say, well, maybe I make another status that is, I don't know, I can't think, non-participating. But again, this would only ever be for me, and it'd be like if I ever wanted to turn off all the functionality for myself. I don't think I want this because that's going to complicate kind of the state flows that I would have to think about. So I'm not going to do that. But I do want to go ahead and create an account now because I do want to be able to look at the admin. Okay, how else could we do this? We could as well, all right, here's another thing we do. Maybe the simplest thing to do is just not hook this up yet. Don't hook up the scheduler. And then none of this is a problem because it won't even be trying to send the emails. That's probably the simplest path. So let's leave this code alone. Let's come over to our stuff over here. We've set up the runtime. We're not going to set up the scheduler. What else did we do here? After that runtime bit, Chalker Benbacher, welcome. Thanks for joining in. We're working on setting up the app on Heroku. It's now live, but we have a little bit more to do. We have not hooked it up to DNS. Actually, I should write that down here. So we did this where set Heroku config bars. We added Heroku database. That's all good. And the things that we have left are connect to domain name. Or was that a separate issue? I think that might have been a separate issue. Yep, I had a whole separate issue for that. So let's not put that. So I think we might be done from the perspective of deploying to Heroku. Add admin account. Yeah, let's leave that there. What I was going to show you earlier that I didn't actually pull the trigger on is, because you can run Heroku run bash and get into a shell here, just like I can run a shell, the .manage_py shell command or the shell plus command. I could just have easily have done .manage_py, what is it, generate super user? There's a built-in command. Where is it? There it is. Create super user. So in that process of creating a super user, then it would create an account, a user record, which would then populate an account record, and it would give me a place that I could log into from the Django admin. So that is the result of that. The challenge is, or what I'm thinking about is, like, I'm not sure I need that right away, because I don't need to show anything in the admin. I can't show you all the admin, and there's no data that I have to do there yet. So it's not really to my advantage to put that in yet. So I think what we'll do to wrap up this evening is, there's no way we're going to have time to get all the way to testing out the webhook. I just don't think that's going to happen. I think what we could do, oh man, we've got a receiver here. Got our message. I could, in theory, get this wired up, connect this to SendGrid's webhook URL, and then send an email. And then we could see in the logs the email address and the sender and the subject. Now, don't know if I want to do that, because then I would be showing you all of my email. But that could be a thing that I could prove. Feels like a good next step. All right, so let's go do this. Let's leave this piece alone. Let's come over here to connect Heroku to DNS. Adafa, let me read your messages here. Let's see what you got going on. You're working on a REST API chat app, okay? What tools to use when it comes to static files? All right. Sure, yeah, let's talk about that for a minute. I haven't gotten to static files yet. I haven't needed them because we haven't done anything. You know, the extent of the app experience is, it's a white page right now. There's literally 0 bytes of data that were transmitted in response. But we will need static files at some point. So the tool I will absolutely be reaching for, which I think is a great Python or a great Django package, or it's not just Django, in fact. It's called White Noise. This is the tool I would recommend for you. White Noise. So when you think about static files can come from a number of places. You could keep static files with your application. If you have, you could use some of the built-in static files tools that Django provides, but the actual serving of the static files is just, they don't make that super easy. Because here's the problem. Django itself is a Python web server. GUnicorn is not super optimized to serve static files. So that every time you do that, it has some kind of processing cost on your web server. And you really want your web server to be able to handle the dynamic requests, the actual Django views and that sort of thing. So there's a handful of strategies that you can use to deal with static files. Actually, you know what? I've got a whole article on this that let me send your way. I'll drop it in there, which will cover a lot of detail on this. Yeah, this is my latest and greatest thinking on this that I've had. So maybe that'll short circuit some of the conversation here. This is part of my Understand Django book, which I've been meaning to, like, it's basically done. I've just not been doing the actual work to release it as a book. So you could, there's a bunch of different modes, and I think I described them in here, like different ways to do this and how to do files on the internet. And there are 2 primary ways that I recommend. One of them is with this notion of a reverse proxy. Reverse proxy is a piece of software that sits in front of, like, think of a stack of web, everybody on the web here, and then something here, and then your Django app down here, and then your database and all that stuff down there. This piece of software in the middle, known as a reverse proxy, is software that is designed to kind of be the intermediary between your users and your own Django app. And you can insert a piece of software here that is actually really good at serving static files. So if requests are coming in and anything that looks like /static, you could make the reverse proxy handle all of those requests. And then your job at that point is, how do I get the static files to be seen by that server? And I describe that in here. Nginx is a really popular suggestion here. The way that I have found to work well is to not complicate my deployment setup by having two pieces of software. That coordination comes with a cost. It actually doesn't even work that well with Heroku. Heroku doesn't really play ball like that super well. So instead, what I use is this tool called White Noise, which does the static file serving out of gUnicorn. And it does some optimizations to make this reasonably fast. Is it like blazingly fast? Is it the fastest? No. But it is a good, simple mechanism to get this done. A third option here is to load your files on Amazon S3 and serve them directly out of an object bucket there. You can go read about that as an option if you want to. So that's my recommendation for deploying static files. Check that out and let me know what you think. If you have any questions, again, you can ask on Discord. I'm happy to try and field some there. We'll get to that eventually. Once we get to actually designing the user interface, we're going to need a CSS framework. I'm going to use Tailwind for this project because I really love Tailwind. And we're going to need static files. We're going to need to solve that problem. We'll just do that a little bit down the road. I think I've got that recorded somewhere as an issue. Yeah, here's the CSS thing. So, yeah. Okay. Getting back to the launch milestone. Let's finish this off let's try and finish this evening by doing two things. Let's connect to Heroku. Connect Heroku to DNS. That's the one big thing. Make sure that works, because we're going to have to update allowed hosts to actually plumb that through so that the Django app will respond positively to that domain name. And then after that's confirmed, we should be able to go to SendGrid and hook up the webhook so that we can start sending emails to the webhook. Okay, so let's go to Cloudflare. Now I think, hopefully I'm not logged in here. Good. Cloudflare, I believe, was one of these ones that like dropped my email address like right in the main dashboard. So you're gonna have to bear with me for a moment as I get to the right place. So bring up the secrets and I'm gonna log into Cloudflare here. Clicking the login button. Hadafa, I hope that article serves you well. Yeah, they've got my email address like front and center. Thanks, guys. So I'm going to go to Manage Domains, which is under Domain Registration. I'm going to go to Journey Inbox and click Manage. And from here, is there anything? Yeah, there's still stuff. Gosh, come on. Still stuff that kind of shows off what my email is. Okay. All right. You all have seen this page before if you watch previous streams when I was setting up the domain verification process with SendGrid. So here we are. What I want to use is I want this site to be journeyinbox.com. That's where I want you to go. I don't want you to have to go to www.journeyinbox.com. Nope, just your journeyinbox.com. So we need to add a record here. And part of the reason I used Cloudflare is because of this ability right here. We can use the root domain and we can hook it up to a CNAME record. For those that you were watching this last time, we talked about CNAME records. CNAME records is basically like an alias kind of record where your domain that you have can resolve to some other place. And so here we've got this example. This SendGrid told us to do these settings, so don't ask me why they are. But this would be like em733.journeyinbox.com is actually an alias for u19 blah 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 sendgrid.net. Okay. So what we need to do to get our domain Journey Inbox to connect it to Heroku is to add a CNAME record, and we're going to do this. We'll add the record, and we will add. This will be a CNAME record, and it says use @ for the root. So let's do @. So journeyinbox.com is an alias of, and this is where we hook it up. So we take this value and say copy link. We say paste it in here. We delete this. No, I intentionally don't want to use www. You can, and I may want to add both so that it could resolve to either. I don't know if there's any complications with that. I think it will, as long as our allowed host is configured a certain way, that's permissible. Yeah, that's my words on that. Let's try one thing at a time and see how it goes. I don't know what this traffic proxied through Cloudflare is. I see Cloudflare is a pretty awesome tool. I think for this proxy stuff helps with like attacks of traffic, or there's a bunch of protection. There's a bunch of benefits you get about proxying it. So I'm going to leave that as proxy. Now I'm not going to click this button. This is what got me last time. It's actually the save button down here. Although my brain wants to think add record is the button to click to confirm this. So let's click save. And so now we've got journeyinbox.com should be connected to our Heroku stuff. The other thing we didn't do, I don't know if we need. We might need to configure this, make this work. So there might be a couple of configuration bits that we will require. So at this stage, we've got the DNS hooked up. Let's see what happens actually. So remember we talked about dig last time. Was it last time? Might have been 2 times ago. I don't remember. Dig is the command that lets you do DNS lookup stuff and see what's connected to what. So we should be able to do dig on Journey Inbox and see if that DNS information has propagated. So Cloudflare's pretty fast, but it may not be there yet. Yeah, looks like it's not there yet. So it could be we get stuck on here because it takes too long for this to propagate through. So what will happen eventually is that, and in fact, let's do a dig on homeschool so I can, no, come on, Matt. I don't have homeschool.com. That'd be amazing. The schooldesk.app. And it's not showing me what I thought it would show me. Maybe I am not. Do I have to do more to get it to show CNAME records? All right. Could be me not understanding dig well enough. Dig, show CNAME. Show all. Short answer to this question of listings that you cannot, without permission, to do zone transfers. Maybe it's like they view it as a security issue. Okay. So perhaps I've been showing data that I thought was not a security issue and been showing it to y'all. Oops. I don't know that for certain though, because I don't know how the system could work if it isn't able to look up CNAMEs. How do I list all CNAME records? There are two ways. Okay, well, I thought that might work, but it could be that I'm just flat out wrong. I think I told you last time, like I said pretty clearly that I'm not some kind of DNS expert by any means. So I'm doing my best here. And y'all kind of learning with me sometimes. It seems like this is actually not something that's commonly done. So we can maybe take it then that perhaps Cloudflare has already accomplished what it needs to accomplish. And maybe the easiest way is to try to go to journeyinbox.com. But I don't think this is going to work because I don't think we've hooked up certificates. Yeah. Well, we're closer, right? Because what happened? We went to Journey Inbox, and prior to hooking up that CNAME, there's no way this would have connected to Heroku, right? So what was that DNS? Okay. So perhaps what happened is we maybe don't have, well, there's a couple things that I could think of. We didn't hook up allowed hosts. So that's possibility number one. So we can go verify that. The other thing we didn't do is do the automatic certificate management stuff. And so what might be happening is our stuff over here is automatically provisioned because Heroku has certificates for all of its apps at its domain. But when you do a custom domain like we've done with Journey Inbox, it needs to go do some extra work to create the certificates because certificates are pretty strongly tied to domains, at least with these automatic certificate registrars like Let's Encrypt. So it's probably a combination of those two things that is actually failing. And in this case, I bet the certificate failure actually happened. That would be, you can think of it as like a sequence of, are you getting even through the gates? And so if you tried to access HTTPS for Journey Inbox, but it doesn't know about that certificate, it's not even going to get to the app. So I think the next thing to do is to hook up certificate management stuff. Let's click this link, see what the documentation says. Automatic certificate management. It automatically manages TLS certificates. And we are at the basic tier, but that's basically everybody now because it's not a free service anymore. It's managed by Let's Encrypt. So Let's Encrypt has a protocol. It's called I think it's called the Acme protocol. And what that does is it does some content negotiation between the domain name and the registrar, the certificate registrar. There's a bunch of stuff there that actually powers all this. And so we should be able to, wow, there's a bunch of stuff here that I don't want to do. I want to do this through the web. There's got to be ACM is enabled by default. No, that's not it. Private, we're not doing private stuff. Certificate status, we're not going to provide our own. Okay. I don't want to follow that. I want to follow what's on the settings page. Let's see if we can figure this, what it's going to do. So we'll do Let's Encrypt. Hit next. Add a custom domain to your app. Okay, hold on. Not sure what that means. I don't remember where to do that. It's been so long since I did that with homeschool. So what I'm gonna do is go to my other app. I'm gonna put the secrets back on because I don't know what I'm gonna be stepping into here. And I'm gonna click settings. And scroll down. Oh. I just didn't go low enough. Okay. Cool. So, yeah. Just didn't follow it through. Let me bring the scene back. I say scene, that's just the Streamlabs thing. Sorry. Bring the screen back is probably what I should be saying. So down here, we've got the certificate management stuff turned on, which is cool. And then we need to add a domain. So your app can be found at, we've already clicked this, but this is what they wanted us to do. I didn't scroll down far enough to see this button. So we click add domain and we can say, see the rules for adding domain section if you receive another merit. All right, so journeyinbox.com. I presume that documentation might tell us to go to our DNS provider to set some stuff up. So I'm guessing at this point, but it seems like a reasonable guess. Congratulations, your domain has been added. Copy and paste your DNS target to complete the domain setup. Maybe this is actually what value they want to put in for Cloudflare. Okay, I think that's probably the case. So let's come back over here. Let's go to edit this and change this from that previous target to this general thicket thing. And we'll save it. Okay, so we've got this connected that way. I could do some work to verify with my homeschool app. So the homeschool app here, okay, help answers the question. Supply this to your DNS provider for the destination of CNAME or alias records. That's exactly what we just did. And this is the homeschool settings page. So, general thicket. We don't need to remove that. What are we waiting on? View your certificate status. Waiting. Heroku is currently waiting to process your certificate. So let's try again. Let's try it over here. Heroku. Oh. All right, y'all. I don't think we're going to get the closure we want here. It usually takes between 45 and 60 minutes to generate a cert. Okay, so we'll just do our best to follow through on the pieces that we can. We might not get all the way to the end this evening. Who knows? It might complete faster. One thing that I do need to add is we need to add to allowed hosts. Now, let's go to the Django settings for a moment. Django project. Let's look at the documentation for 4.2. And we want to search for allowed hosts. And I want to show an aspect of this. On the settings page, probably right near the top. There it is. So, Aeon, this is to your earlier comment or question. I guess it was more of a comment about using www. allowed hosts can be configured to respect multiple domains. So they have this notion of here it is, a value beginning with a period can be used as a subdomain wildcard. So when I update allowed hosts in a moment, what I'm really going to type in is I'm not going to just type in journeyinbox.com. What I'm really going to type in is .journeyinbox.com. And that will signal to Django to look for journeyinbox.com, www.com, anything that I want to connect to the actual main app. So I might want to connect both of those in the event that somebody navigates directly to journeyinbox.com via www. The other path here could be doing some kind of redirect. I actually don't know if you can do a redirect at the domain level. Maybe there's a record for that. I'm not sure off the top of my head. So let's fix up allowed hosts to that value that I just mentioned. I'm going to put secrets back on. I'm opening up the config variables, and where I've got the allowed hosts, I'm going to the very beginning of that setting. I think. Oh, there, not linked. Okay, there we go. So I had to open up a little edit form, and I am typing .journeyinbox.com, comma. So it's I was about to show you something with my hands. I can't because you can't see me. I should improve my secrets page by showing that video. Something for the future. But let me change this, save it. I saved it, hiding the config files, brought it back. So in this circumstance, what I just did was something like we had, well, I'll type out roughly what I just put in there. Journeyinbox.com, comma, no spaces or anything. And then it was immediately journeyinbox, blah, 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 blah. It was some other .herokuapp.com, something like that. So that will cause the app to be able to positively respond to either the direct Heroku path that we saw already with this one, the 682 thing, or the other one at the actual domain that I want. Okay, so this might be the end of the road for us this evening if the stuff has not processed on Heroku's side. So let's I think we're done with DNS. I won't close that yet though. And we're over here. It says it's still waiting. Let me refresh the page in the off chance that it's applied it. Oh, cool. It says it's applied it. So let's try it. This is the for real moment here. HTTPS journeyinbox.com. Oh, let me actually, before I hit enter, let's bring up the network thing so we can see it, see the data from the get-go. Oh, not cool. An error occurred during a connection to journeyinbox.com. What? Boop, 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 boop. Okay, Did it even make it? Shoot. Didn't anticipate getting a redirect. Moved permanently. So what could have happened here? A moment ago, I did try to go here. Where was it? Did I have it open in a different one? Yeah. So I tried to go here, but this is when it was pointed directly at... Oh, shoot, I think I killed it. Where'd it go? Pointed at... Well, now it's gone. That longer name, that HerokuApp.com name. I don't know where that disappeared to. Did I kill that tab? I must have. Too quick on the trigger finger, closing stuff. And so it was resolving to that path. But when we switched over to using the certificate stuff, now it's just telling us that our app can be found here. So that old path might actually be dead, which would be, I mean, not sad, but just surprising. Yeah, I thought they would have like the other name somewhere. Okay. Well, bummer. So what we could be facing here is a cache timeout problem where somebody's got something cached yet, and so nothing's actually reaching the app. Maybe we could verify this. There is a command called, is it Heroku logs? Heroku logs? Let's see if that's it. So Heroku logs -t. This is how it lets us like look at what's happening. Trying to debug, like, is this a problem with caching, that like something is happening at the Cloudflare and DNS layer, or is this a problem at the app layer? And this would kind of hint to me that it is. So let's actually do this. I'm going to give this a bunch of space. So I've got the -t option. So yeah, let me type out the command in case you're trying to keep track of some of this. We've got Heroku logs -t, where -t is equal to tail. And what that means is it's going to continue to follow the logs if new stuff is coming in. So if we had an active site, this would be scrolling and scrolling right now. So I've got this set up, and we're going to confirm right at this moment if the problem is even getting the app or if it's something else. I suspect, judging by the number of requests that we see here to slash, that the problem is at the app level and it's trying to do some kind of other response, and we've got something misconfigured. Yeah, actually, look right there. There it is, 301. So something is not happy. I've got HTTPS. That's why this is confusing. So let's clear this. Got the tail. I gave myself, this is just a crude hack that I like to do if I'm tailing something. Your terminal will still accept enter stuff to move it up. So it gives me a nice visual gap. And now I can come up here and I hit enter and blah, 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 blah. And we can see, okay, so here's the gap. Here's direct evidence that our app server did a 301. So the question is, why? Okay. So what would cause the app to 301? And it's probably not just the route. It's probably any of the paths that we would have here. So if I was able to show you the admin path, which again I can't, or I shouldn't because it ruins the security, that would be the problem. This looks suspicious to me, having where it says protocol HTTP. I'm surprised by that. So we have a GET over HTTP. That's the request. The router is, how should we read this? So here's the first request that comes in. There is a router layer from Heroku. And the router is like our load balancer that's sitting everything. It's the one, we've got our custom name. So we do have, this is indication that we have wired up Journey Inbox correctly to our journeyinbox.com correctly to Heroku through that CNAME. And that CNAME, which was what was Bella, welcome back. Thanks for joining in. We're doing some debugging because I messed something up somewhere along the way. So the CNAME record comes into here. So it's connected into general thicket, which we hooked up over here on Cloudflare. That's there. So I'm confident that we've definitely got the DNS wired up together. Something about, yeah, I think you might be right, John. I'm gonna check. I thought I defaulted that to HTTPS, but maybe I didn't. Or maybe, yeah, I have thoughts. So let's actually go look at the settings. So I am expecting there's an SSL redirect here, and I'm expecting that to be true. And so this is one place where this could be happening. The question is, is the router? All right, somebody could be doing TLS termination. Now, what I thought might happen was, I do a diagram for this. I'm wondering if I want to keep this around. This isn't, I think I've saved this, but let's see. Because it's probably going to be easiest to explain if I can draw it out. So let's save this to a file really quickly, and then I'll save it. Okay, I've got a second one, so it probably is indicating that I already had it. Let's reset the canvas. Yeah, I'm not sure where my money is yet. That's a good thought. So let's talk about the pieces that are in play. So we've got Firefox. Let's start all the way from the beginning. I'm at the browser layer. I could say browser here, but I'm not going to. Then we've got let's copy this and paste a new thing, and we've got cloud Flare with an, or is it lowercase f? I don't know. What I have like some OCD about that. And they got it all capitals here. So Cloudflare, it's lowercase f. Okay. So we got Cloudflare, and then we've got Heroku. It's the next piece in the puzzle. Heroku. And finally, there is Django. Okay. So we want to do this to this. This is the request, the actual HTTP request, where we hit enter, and we know for sure that this is over HTTPS, right? Then I think that the connection over here is this tunnel traffic should also be over HTTPS. Not sure how to confirm that actually, but I mean, this is a CNAME, so, and Heroku needed configuration to do Let's Encrypt stuff, so that it's, in order to even like have the HTTPS work at that name and for Heroku to respond, I think it's got to be HTTPS. Now, the key question in my mind right now is what's going on at this link? Is this HTTP or is it HTTPS? And this concept of like when the secure connection stops is known as termination, TLS termination. So if, for instance, if we were to know with certainty that this is actually HTTP and that the connection between the router, this is the, I guess more accurately, this is the Heroku router, plus probably a bunch of other stuff internally in their system, but from our perspective as an app owner, it's the router. And this is the web app, or web dyno is technically the name that Heroku wants to call the thing that's running in their system. So if HTTP stops here, basically if Heroku takes that data and decrypts it because it can, because it's got the certificate, and then calls the actual web server with HTTP, that means that termination, it ended here. And it means that from Django's perspective, it's looking like a plain unencrypted connection. This is this would be surprising to me. I don't remember the homeschool app being like this. In fact, let me go check on the configuration for the homeschool app, and this might short circuit a lot of this conversation. So I'm going to turn on the secrets again, reveal the configuration variables, and see if there's any shockers in here that that just give me pause. So I'm looking and I don't see anything that looks like it's disabling HTTPS. So I'm going to highlight this again because I'm not really sure how we could do that. I think that's a good thought. I think it's not necessary though, and I think we have with confidence the answer that this is coming from the app. So here we are, like we're down. This is the logs coming from GUnicorn. Okay. And the fact that it's getting to here is indicative to me that it's the actual application server that's doing the 301. So, because if you think about it, if the problem was at Cloudflare and Cloudflare is doing the 301, then it wouldn't even come all the way down here. Like this side would never even see it. The network traffic would stop. We'd get the response here. So I think we can say confidently that the 301 behavior is not coming from here. We can also say confidently that the 301 behavior is not coming from here, because if it was, then I don't think we'd see any of this app web1 log traffic. So that, because something would just happen at the router layer. Bello, no, I mean, I'm sure that Cloudflare can do redirects. I'm pretty positive of that. Just the question is it doing it in this context? And I think the answer is no. So what I'm trying to figure out is this line right here, where it says protocol HTTP. Is that saying that the request that they're going to route further is unencrypted? And if so, that would explain this behavior, because the aside from, sorry, what am I trying to say? The app side is not ready for that. Thought just ran through my head. Sometimes you have to direct an app. Oh my goodness, I'm so sorry, y'all. Too many flipping back and forth. My bad. Thank you for calling that out, Bello. So here's another thought that's running through my head is sometimes there are needs to have like proxy information. So this Django app is running in a proxied mode. Heroku is sitting in front of it. And maybe it's an aspect of Django is not looking at all the right headers because it doesn't realize it's being proxied right now. So it thinks it's getting HTTP even though it's not. That's actually a pretty likely situation. And I don't remember if the homeschool app dealt with that, and if it's so, how it did it. My memory is fading on this. So let's go poke around with the homeschool app and check out the settings and see if there's anything obvious about proxying. Is secure. That sounds fishy. Promise we won't dig into this too long unless we have to. Here it is. I'm pretty sure that looks like it. Secure proxy SSL header. Yep, notice what's absent. So your question is secure SSL redirect set to true. Yes, it is. But I think I found it. I think I found the problem. We don't have this here. And so if like we actually here, let's take these and then like, whoops, copy them very directly and paste them and do a line by line comparison here. So they both have secure cookie. They both have HL, backwards. This one has more, so I'll just do this temporarily. Secure cookie. Referrer policy. Oh, that's interesting. That's another one we might want. It's got preload seconds. And it's just subdomains, that's there. Redirect and cookie. All right, so here are the two that we seem to be missing. Those look pretty valuable. All right, let's go read about them. Make sure that they are what we think they are, and add them to the project. So that this is feeling like very much like the thing that we're missing. We have our settings. I already closed that set. Man, I'm doing a bad job of keeping the right pages open. Settings. Oh, Django project settings. Come on, y'all. This should be in my history. Pretty weak sauce. All right. At least Google did a decent job. All right, so they're called Secure Proxy SSL Header. Oops. This is a topic. This is not the actual settings. It's not the reference page. Good grief. Secure proxy SSL header. Okay. A tuple representing a header value combination that signifies a request is secure. This controls the behavior of the request object's isSecure method, which is probably what the secure middleware uses. By default, isSecure determines if a request is secure by confirming that the requested URL uses HTTPS. This method is important for CSR protection and may be used by your own code or third-party apps. If your Django app is behind a proxy, this is us, the proxy may be swallowing whether the original request uses HTTPS or not. That's that termination aspect. If there's a non-HTTPS connection between the proxy and Django, then isSecure would return false, which I think is what's going on. Even if the HTTPS requests were made by the end user. Contrast if there's an HTTPS connection. Okay. So yeah, we want this. Let's take it like that and go to the project and secure proxy. So if we alphabetize secure proxy. Okay, we got that tuple, however you want to say it. All right, let's check out that other one while we're here. Secure referrer policy, because that might save us some time later. Default. Okay, maybe this is something that got changed and we don't need to worry about it anymore because the default is same origin. And here, this is saying same origin. So maybe an older version of Django didn't set that and I don't even know or need to check what it is. Okay. Okay, I think we're good. So let's get out of here. We're just adding that one configuration. Tell Django to know about this stuff. Let's see, set secure proxy, proxy SSL header. This is for that deploy, what was that, 5? 13. All right, let's do a deploy. Now, we haven't changed any requirements here, so this actually should go pretty quickly. All of that installed stuff will just should cruise right on by as cached things. Yeah, it didn't even, yeah. It says using cached install of 3.11. So we didn't have to change the Python version. We didn't have to do that. Now it's doing a new deploy. It's running the release command, but we don't have any migrations, so that'll just run and it'll say no migrations to apply, which is cool. And we can go over to here, clear this, and with any luck, that was what we needed. Ah, boo. Boo. Well, shoot, I thought for sure that was going to be it. That makes me sad. Are you sure? Wishful thinking. Okay. Was it a different value than... might have been the wrong value. Proxy. HTTPX forwarded proto. HTTPX forwarded proto. Did I type it right? Secure proxy. Okay. Just paste it. Have them side by side in case I did something stupid. Look the same. Secure proxy SSL header. HTTPX forwarded proto. HTTPS. I don't see anything wrong with that. All right. I committed. Let's definitely, let's see, C8E, the starting commit. Give us our commit that it's building from here. Well, that'd be too handy. There it is. Okay. Aleem, what's the error message? I think it's the same one we saw a moment ago. Yeah. The page isn't redirecting properly. And check your environment variable. Bello, I think in this context, the mouse got all funky there. We don't have a .env file for Heroku, so there's not that. Might have HTTP. So yeah, it should be defaulting to HTTPS. But these are good. Y'all are using your brains and engaging. I appreciate that. So one thing we could do, just to confirm if this is in fact the problem, is we could try turning off the redirect and see if that's what's going poorly. Can I check the header names coming from the proxy? Maybe. That's what do we see? We saw up here. We saw up here that the router shows that information. I don't know if it shows everything though. Yeah, the router log is not super detailed here. So, I mean, I could go in and we could go to our index page and have it print out a bunch of stuff. Like literally take all of the headers that came from the request and print them. That would be sort of the crude way to do this, but effective. All right, which way do we want to go with this? Let's try this first. Let's try changing the setting, because it seems like with a pretty high degree of confidence, this is it. That it's the fact that we have this SSL redirect on. But I say that, and I say that as someone who's like, there have been times when I have been so certain of something, only to actually like inspect the data and have it blow up my face, be like, you were wrong about your assumption. Because I don't want to go down this path of like we're trying to debug SSL redirect and that not be the problem. So let's set, I'm going to come in here, I'm going to go set this setting to false. Let me highlight that, copied it. Yeah, Aleem, you're right. It does say it, but the operative word here is that it can sometimes be caused by disabling or refusing to accept cookies. So I think this is a generic message from the browser. And so we don't have the message from Django, which I think is going to be more informative. So we're going to come back to the settings page. I'll try to remember to turn it back on quickly this time. So I'm going to go into the secrets section. I'm going to add a config. I'm going to add a new key here, which is the secure SSL redirect. I'm going to set the value to false, and I'm going to say add. And then I'm going to hide the config variables. And I'm going to bring the screen back. So we have that. I don't know how long that's going to take to deploy. Let's see if it's already done. Where does it show deployments? Okay. There we go. So it says it's done just now. Let's come back over here and refresh the page. Okay. Yay! Progress. Progress in that we know what the problem is. Okay. Let's challenge an assumption. Is that setting useful to have on? Like, is it even delivering the value? Because the goal of it there is, the idea is that the Django app is trying to protect requests from getting messed up. But, like, is it even impossible for me to do an HTTP connection to Journey Inbox? Seems no. But I don't know. Well, okay. Let's be careful. It seems no, but that's because in my requests, I had set HSTS headers. So it could be that this is continuing to redirect to HTTPS because those headers were set. So here's a request so hopefully one of you has not tried to navigate here. And if you don't mind, would one of you attempt to go to http, no S, //journeyinbox.com. And let me know if you can get an unsecure or insecure connection to this website that will be permitted. That would be a useful data point. And I asked that way because let's imagine that maybe Heroku, knowing that I have certificate management on for that domain, maybe that router is not going to allow HTTP and it does redirects. That, I don't know why that would be the case necessarily, but if that's true, then the setting that we're fighting right now is not worth it, right? Like if I know that if I can say with confidence that the load balancing layer in front of the application is doing the right thing. So Bella, can you clarify? Did you got an HTTP connection or did it go HTTPS? Actually, welcome. Thank you for subscribing. So if you got HTTP without the S, then yeah, I got a problem that we have to solve. If you didn't, then we can just throw up our hands. And let's do some other stuff here while I'm waiting to see what Bello says. Let's go to the core views and let's do a oh wow, cross origin opener policy header has been ignored because the URL's origin was untrustworthy. It was defined either in the final. Okay, that sounds bad. Thanks, Aleem. you got HTTP. All right, shoot. So we got to get this working. Why is it working on my homeschool app? Yeah, AO, I wonder if it, did you try to go to Journey Inbox before? Because as soon as you have the HSTS headers set, your browser is going to like lock it in there. And I think I set it for like a year. So if that, like HSTS is like all the way in browsers, basically saying like, I really want you to make sure this only ever comes in via HTTPS. Don't ever come in via another mechanism. So that's why I asked. I needed somebody who had not visited the domain to attempt it, which is, it sounds like both Bello and Aleem had the same scenario. So where does that leave us? For, oh gosh. For header in request headers, the new property, right? Yeah, it's definitely cached in your browser if you've ever visited once, and it's cached for a long time. So it's not, that's why I couldn't verify myself. Or I'd have to like go and destroy all sorts of caches in my browser, which I really don't want to do. I think we can just print the header. This is an awful hack. But let's make sure this works locally before we commit this, because I don't like it. All right. So we'll bring up port 5000. Loaded the page, no problem. Oh, boo. Yeah, that would have been upsetting. Bello, I think even incognito might respect HSTS. I might be wrong on that, but whoops. So let's do items here instead of just headers. So it's like a dictionary-like structure, so it's just giving us the keys, which is why we're seeing those things. But now if I've done items, it should be some tuple pairs, I hope. Okay, so we're now seeing all of the headers that are here. Gosh, is that? What is this? Is that freaking Google Analytics? How in the world would they have their hooks into this? Okay, I'm not going to fret about that right now. So these are all request headers. Oh, boogers. So I don't think, no, okay, we turned it off. I was about to say, I don't even think we'd see these headers yet because it would get blocked and redirect at the middleware. So this middleware, or this 301 response they're saying, actually, let's make this a little bit more concrete in case y'all are like, where is this happening? Which would be a very realistic thing to consider if you weren't aware. Middleware in a Django app kind of acts like shells that, like, the core of your views are in the middle, and there's like circles that go around it. In fact, I have another diagram that might be useful from my book. Look at this list, and there's a middleware, and in here I made this like diagram. Okay, so the way you list your middleware matters, and it's going to go in order from top to bottom here. And you can see I kind of lined up my thing to match up with the default template stuff. So it's like layers. It goes in and it stops here and stops here. At any one of these boundaries here, it can reject the request and send it back. So your view function may never even execute if one of the middleware layers aborts the request or makes some kind of immediate response. And since the security middleware is right at the get-go, that's the area where it would be saying, this is not a secure request, redirect to a secure request. So it'd be really early. But since we turned it off, it's going to allow it to go through. And then once it's allowed to go through, the view function will be this area that's printing out the headers. Okay. Hopefully that makes sense. I think we have enough here that we can print these headers. I don't like committing junk, but I'm going to commit some junk until we can get this right. Okay. Print request headers. And I wish there were better ways for Heroku to tell us all the headers on at the intersection between the router and the actual app. Okay, and then let's do make deploy. I'm gonna have to call it quits after. If we haven't figured this out in the next 5 minutes or so, I've been running for 2.5, 3 hours, or 2.5 hours at least. So this will be about the limit for me, I think, y'all. And then we'll come back with that fresh eyes the next time. No migrations. Everything's up. I think we're all good. So let's clear this stuff. Let's do Heroku log-tail. So you can see we've got our process started. So this is all the information we didn't see before. And oh, something tried to connect. We didn't even have to try and connect. It must be doing some stuff to make sure that the app is up. Perhaps it's doing this like a health check. Well, I guess that answers the question. So we're looking for what? We're looking for X forwarded proto. And it's saying HTTP. Boo. Right? Because we in our configuration had X forwarded proto with HTTPS. So do we have to change that? Okay. Why did my homeschool app, though, have HTTPS? Why is that? All right, let's do some quick searching. Maybe there's configuration that I'm missing, because I would much rather the connection be secure, right? Like I don't want to turn stuff off. That would be dumb. So Heroku X forwarded proto HTTPS. Can you force an application? All right, there's a couple options here from the Heroku Center. Let's go read. Forwarded proto. Okay, here we go. All headers are considered to be case sensitive. Fine. As per HTTP, what? No. I'm pretty sure this is changed with it. Yeah, this is an old spec version. I think that's not true anymore. So ignore this, but it doesn't hurt for them to have a certain casing here. The originating protocol of the request, HTTPS. Why are you sending this as HTTP? What's going on? Oh, maybe maybe. I'm going to chuckle when, who was it that said it? Somebody, one of you said it, that maybe it's Cloudflare. I'm going to chuckle if Cloudflare is doing, let's go back to our diagram. It's possible that Cloudflare is terminating this and the HTTP is actually happening here. That would be, because this is a difference with my homeschool app. I'm not using Cloudflare. I'm using a different DNS provider called Hover, and they might have a different behavior. So there's a chance that stuff that's getting routed from Cloudflare to Heroku is no longer encrypted, which would be mega stupid because they're on different public clouds. So that would be unencrypted traffic here. Be super weird. Or, like I said, it could be possible here that this is just because this is like a health check request. So let's actually look at this from trying this ourselves. So I'm going to run this. We get the request. X forwarded proto, HTTP. Son of a gun. Why? Okay, let's keep reading the Heroku docs in case they give us some clues about what's going on. And with that stuff. Hey, I'm looking at your comment. Check proxy mode. Yeah, that proxy mode thing. I wonder if that's causing some problems. Cloudflare proxy mode HTTP only. All right, we'll play that. Let me finish reading the docs. I'm getting too far ahead of myself. What just happened here? I'm trying to get to a page here. And maybe that's what the router was saying. Maybe we were like, maybe the answer was staring us in the face the whole time. The protocol being HTTP. What I don't know is this could be not the connection. Like I said, okay, so we got two connections with the router, right? We've got this side and this side. I was assuming with the logs that what it was logging was actually this side, but maybe that was dumb. Maybe what it was really saying is like this side of its connection inbound is happening. Is there, I doubt there's any way, like, are there Cloudflare logs? That would be cool. Cloudflare logs. Instant logs. View HTTP request logs. Okay, I don't get this. I'm not cool enough. I'm on a free plan with Cloudflare. No surprise that they're not giving me access to that. So let's go with AM's theory right now. Seems like the best one we got so far to handle this proxy bit and take that off. Just do DNS. DNS only. Not sure that's going to give us what we want, but we'll start there. See how it goes. And then, again, I also don't know how long it's going to take for that to apply. Maybe it's immediate. Or Cloudflare seems to be super fast with all this stuff. So let's come back down to here. Let's get this. Let's do a refresh. Whoa. Taking a long time to do that. Get. Why? What the heck happened? It's gonna time out. Just hanging. Why would that be? With the proxy off, like, so, I mean, I'm like school desk. It's super fast. So I can't imagine why. What is the proxy doing? That seems crazy. It seems like maybe there's a propagation problem here of like we changed it and it's taking time to, like maybe the subsequent one will be fast. Okay, so we've got a new one coming in. It still says HTTP. Why is that happening? Let's try refreshing it. Let's do it again, see if it goes faster this time. Yeah, it is much faster. So I think there's some propagation problem just to get the proxy turned off. And now that it's off, it's been pushed. Probably had to flush something through their systems, and we just had to pay that cost. Okay. There it is again. All right. See if we can. Razagul, thanks for subscribing. Appreciate it. Man, I'm really operating on fumes at this point. My brain is not thinking well. Does Heroku strip incoming? Maybe. Okay, what could I search for to like track this down? Because the problem seems to be, well, we know where the problem is. My assertion is that we have this setting, secure proxy SSL header. You know what? Let's go dig in a little bit of code, and then I think I'm gonna call it because I just unless something is a like obvious thing to do. I'm not sure where to go from here, and I need some fresh brain to think about this next week. So let's go up a directory and go into the Django project, and turn off the logs for a minute. We want to find secure proxy SSL header. It's probably plugged into the middleware somewhere. Middleware. Is that? That's the test directory. That's not right. Oh, boo. Come on. Come on, Django. Let's go to security middleware. Is it security? Yep. Proxy. What? Not in here. Yeah, AM. I used a service called Hover for my DNS on the other side. And the reason I switched to Cloudflare this time is because I want that root domain. And the downside with my school desk app is it's www. So I'm trying to avoid that. That's the goal. So it's secure proxy is the thing we're looking for, right? And if we have it, oh, they've got it buried here in the scheme of the request object. What? So the scheme, so there's like, what is this saying? We've got the header name and the secure value. Cool. So that's going to be HTTP X forwarded proto and the secure value. And then we've got the actual header value that is pulling out of the meta dictionary, which is where all the headers are. And it's not none. That'll be true. So it's going to come in here and split that based off of what it can find in there. So I guess it sounds like that header. They're planning for the case where the header could be multi-valued, and they're taking the first one, which is what we get as header value. They're like, this is did have more stuff, and then they replaced it with something simpler. And then they're stripping on that because the internet is weird and it maybe has like spaces or new lines or something. And if it's equal to the secure value, which we have defined as the string of HTTPS, then it's going to return the scheme HTTPS. Otherwise, it's going to return HTTP. Okay, this all makes sense. So then we get, you can see right here, here's where the actual check is. It's only going to report back is secure if the scheme reports as HTTPS. So I'm 100% confident that we're on the right track here, that the problem is the fact that this is reporting as HTTP rather than the HTTPS value that we expect. The thing we need to figure out is what I was talking about earlier, is like, which part of this chain is breaking down? Is it here that this is being sent to the router as HTTP? Or is it here that the router is doing something and stripping that off? My gut is now telling me that it's like, if I've got two data points. The two data points I have is, one is the school desk app and the other is Journey Inbox. And the configuration from the Django perspective is the same. And I didn't have to turn it off from the school desk app. That tells me that my the proto information is probably HTTPS there, because otherwise it would have redirected on the school desk app. So I think that this is probably is not trying to doing any termination here, which tells me here that something is wrong with this connection. And I don't know how to fix this. So I'm going to stop here. Thank you all for joining in. I was hoping we'd like finish this with one victorious like email and then see some logs that would show that we wired this all together. We're a little closer. I need to make a note. Actually, I should do that right now. That the what was that setting called? I'll put it right in the terminal so it stares us at the face next time. Secure SSL redirect is disabled. Fix it. Okay. And I'm going to mess that up. I'm sure. Actually, you know what? Let's do this more reliably. Let's put it in GitHub and put it as an item in here, because this is going to be more persistent. Gosh, too late. Fix secure SSL redirect. Figure out why X forwarded proto has a value of HTTP. Is Cloudflare terminating TLS before connecting to Heroku? All right. So that's the thing that will set us off for next time. This was pretty fun. Thank you all for a lively conversation. Hopefully you learned something along the way. And maybe the lesson is just even people who have been doing this a long time get stuck on silly configuration stuff. We will, with any luck, get past this problem in the next stream. I do see next week. I should be streaming next week, same time, Wednesdays at 9 p.m. Eastern time here in the States. And the goal would be finish this off, connect it to SendGrid, and then view the event data that comes back from SendGrid, so that we can start to process responses from emails and then write them out as journal entries. That would complete the whole loop. From that point, I can act as guinea pig number one and try out the service. Even though it has no user interface or anything else, I could be starting my journal stuff on that. And then we could build up from there and start to make the features that we would need in order to open this up to other people, figure out beta periods or whatever. We'll get all that done. With that, thank you so much for joining in this evening, and I'll see you next time. Take care.